Thanks for joining us for City Council Comments. I'm Steve Erickson along with Councilmember Brad Griskowiak. Today we're talking about both the April 6th and our April 20th City Council meetings. Thanks for coming in here today.
You bet, Steve. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we're, I guess, officially, 4 months through the year of council meetings already?
4 months through the year. Spring is here. Yeah, I'm excited about all that.
Yeah, now it can just warm up. We got that kind of, feel like, fake taste of summer, and
right.
then it's been kind of rainy and cool, so.
Yeah, I thought I saw some snowflakes the other day, and that wasn't very, fun.
No. We deserve some warmer weather, so bring it on.
We want some green grass, don't we?
Yeah, and I was out at the golf course last week. They got some new golf carts in, so.
They did? They got their golf carts?
Quite a few people out there golfing and hitting balls and all of that.
People love to get out and do that kind of stuff, for sure.
Yeah. All right, well, let's jump into here. We'll start by talking about our most recent meeting, which was Tuesday, April 20th. One of the first items there, Council ratified temporary expansion of liquor licensing to allow for expanded outdoor service. This was also done at our previous meeting, so we have a couple businesses that had requested this.
That's right. We did some of this at the April 6th meeting. We actually did this last summer in response to the COVID and the restrictions that were put in place for indoor dining. Just allowed our businesses to open up some outdoor dining and to serve liquor out there. So we approved that to be opened up again all the way through, believe through the end of October or until the restrictions are lifted and the city emergency order is lifted. So in this case, we had a couple on the 6th, and in this case, we had another business come up, and it was Leonard's Grill on Coon Rapids Boulevard. So we approved that last night.
They've been creative. Like I said, Leonard's Bar and Grill was the one for this meeting. Previously, they did TGI Fridays and Texas Roadhouse. So if you've driven by, you've seen kind of the outdoor seating area. Right. And I'm sure it's been nice for them, but also challenging with the weather here in Minnesota.
Right. So yeah, again, kind of an evolving thing, and we're going to see how it goes. And hopefully it's not going to last all the way through October, but we have the flexibility here in this. All right.
Council considered two resolutions relating to street reconstruction. This was the awarding of contracts for the work.
That's done. Yeah, that's right. These are a couple of big projects that City of Coon Rapids is going to undertake in the summer here. The first one is Project 21.1, and this is a full-depth reclamation. This is road repairs and replacements in primarily the Oaks of Shenandoah area. So that's an area north of 127th all the way up to 131st. And from Shenandoah Boulevard all the way over to Hanson Boulevard. So there's a lot of streets in there, a lot of impacted homes, and these are all roads that are original, from original construction, that built in the early 80s. And as a matter of fact, when I was campaigning for Ward 1 representative, I was walking through these areas and I asked people about this, and they said, yes, absolutely, let's get our roads done, it's time. So this is going to be a big project, and take a couple of months over the summer to get them all done.
Okay, so that was the one project, and then the other area is a section in the southern part of the city, right?
Right, so two big projects. That was one project. The other section is about another 3 miles worth of roads, and it's down more in the southern part of the city, closer to the river. Yeah. I believe 104th and Hummingbird area is a section of area that's going to be done, and then a little bit farther east there on 97th or so in Flintwood, and those projects are going to be a little bit more comprehensive. That's going to also include replacement of water mains. Okay. So those are some pretty big projects and big pieces of infrastructure for the city that will take us for another 50 years.
All right. So this is about 6.3 miles, I believe, of residential street, just over $10 million worth of work. Anyone impacted has received notice. There are assessments for the project. Right. Anyone else who's wondering where all these streets are, we can't list them all off, but they can go to the city's website, coonrapidsmn.gov, and check out the agenda for this council meeting. There's maps outlining all of the roads that are being redone this summer.
There's maps, and the contractors will be in touch with us. The city engineer is out there if you have any questions on that. So yeah, real proactive. Check our website, and again, impacted property owners will definitely have a advance notice of this and keep well on track with the whole project.
All right, and this is just ongoing work, correct? The engineering department picks different areas of the city. They actually have a pretty comprehensive way. They rate the roads to decide which projects to do in subsequent years.
Yeah, the city engineer has a big, long list of the way they rate the roads, but really, if you start to see your roads with a lot of potholes, with a lot of cracks and things like that, you can probably start to think, our road is going to get replaced in the coming years. So we do 2 to 3 projects like this a year, and again, City of Coon Rapids has always been pretty proactive in maintaining our key infrastructure like roads and things like this.
All right. Council awarded a contract for 2021 street maintenance program.
They did. Actually, the City of Coon Rapids is a lead agency in this consortium. So there's about 11 or 12 cities that participate in this, and we awarded a contract that will service all those cities for 2021.
Okay, so this is like what work is done by this for streets? Just like repair work?
It's mostly repair work, fog sealing, crack sealing, things like that. This isn't the major road reclamation that you're seeing in the 2 projects that we just mentioned.
Correct. Okay.
This is just maintenance.
And this goes on probably in a lot of different areas of the city each summer, depending on those needs.
It does. I want to say we're going to probably do 10 to 20 miles of streets that are just fog sealing and basic maintenance on the streets without having to replace the street.
Okay.
Gives us, a lot longer lifespan on the street itself.
Okay, so this is part of our seal coating.
It is.
Work as well.
Correct.
Okay. Council awarded a contract for miscellaneous trail reconstruction. Of course, our trails, as we always talk about, very popular, get a lot of use, and we're having 2 improvements here.
A lot of trails in our city, very well used trails, a lot of parks in our city, and that's one of the real key things about our city. And this does 2 fairly short segments of trail. The two parks that are impacted are Riverdale Park and Thorpe Park. So they're going to have new pavement on sections of trail in those parks.
All right. Moving along, council adopted an ordinance changing the zoning from low-density residential 2 to moderate-density residential, as well as changing the land use designation from institutional to moderate-density residential. We're talking about this parcel at 12691 Hanson Boulevard. Folks will know this as there's a church on this site just north of Main Street and east of Hanson.
Yep, exactly. Just that little section just east of Hanson on 126. There's a church there, and it's a larger parcel. We talked about this at a earlier council meeting in April as well. But really, what the church wants to do is split their property. They don't need that much property. They're going to retain their church building and their church parking lot. But the other half of the section of the property is going to be rezoned into the same zoning as the other surrounding area, and that's low-density residential. So just to match the surrounding community. There will likely be a few townhomes in there in the future, but however, this is just changing the zoning and the land use of those properties. Nothing has come before Planning Commission or the city in terms of site plans or anything like that yet. So that'll be coming. I'm not sure when, but in the future.
All right, so council really doesn't consider a project with changing the zoning, correct?
No, that's correct.
You have to look at kind of what, the surrounding area and all of that and decide if it fits. Because any other project that is zoned, however you rezone it, could come into that location in the future.
Exactly. So it's not project specific at all. It's just basically tightening up the zoning that matches the surrounding area.
Okay. Yep. All right. Council considered a resolution accepting plans and specifications. This is for the East Water Treatment Plan. There's some HVAC improvements. And council also at our first meeting in April also authorized or awarded a contract for the reservoir rehabilitation, the big big tank that holds the water. Right?
The West Reservoir, right. Earlier, we approved a resolution that's going to reline the West Reservoir tank. And I like to talk about this because these are big key infrastructure projects for the city of Coon Rapids.
Yep.
And so Coon Rapids is always very proactive in making sure that our infrastructure is up to date. Water, sewer, streets, and things like that. You've read that some cities get behind on this stuff and they need a bailout or they have problems with their water systems. But, I give credit to the staff and the city council and the leadership that we have that make sure that our infrastructure like this is always up to date. This one is just doing some inside renovations to the East Water Treatment Plant. And I believe the other one was
the other one was east as well.
East as well, okay.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And that is a 5.5 million gallon, I believe, correct? 5.5, million gallon ground reservoir.
Right.
So they basically have to empty it. Yeah, and they're going to reline it,
right.
Improve it, and then they'll fill it back up eventually.
Right. And of course, some of our concerns are how is this going to impact the homes in that area, but we have enough storage capacity in other areas, so it won't be affected. Homeowners won't be affected through this. So.
All right, always good to keep up. And like you said, that one hadn't been done since the 60s, correct? Or something like that?
That's right. We had it's about a 50-year lifespan on a project like this, so we should good well into the future. I think it was maybe last year or the year before that we did the west.
Okay.
So we're going to be in great shape on both sides.
All right, keep that water flowing.
That's right.
All right, council considered a development agreement with Centra North LLC. This is for Port Riverwalk, 3rd edition. People that have driven by there have noticed great progress there. Quite a few homes that are now up, and this project continues.
Yeah, it's amazing what we're seeing over there on Coon Rapids Boulevards with those houses going up. They look beautiful, and they're very, very popular. They're being sold ahead of schedule. But this will be the 3rd development agreement with Centra. The first 2 have already gone through. So with this 3rd one, I believe that'll bring up to about 87 structures total out of a planned 136. I believe there's going to be 1 or 2 more additions to this in the future. But again, just a great improvement over there and very well received. It's looking great over there. I'd like to see a time-lapse photography, starting from a year and a half ago and, through maybe 2022 to see how it's progressing.
Yeah, it's progressing along rapidly compared to all the years where it's kind of sat vacant. I was going to suggest maybe we go back to 2000 and check out the progress. But it is great to see stuff going up there. And like I said, it looks great. And I'm sure folks, the housing market's pretty tight, and people need homes these days, so I imagine they're selling pretty good.
Yeah, the market's hot, and what's nice about this is the prospective homeowner can pick their lot, they can pick their design of their building, and then it gets built. So all those ones that are popping up, those have already been sold and pre-selected, and pretty exciting time over there in that area of Coon Rapids Boulevard, Zilla.
All right. Well, that's all we had from our April 20th meeting. We want to jump back to our first meeting of the month now, which took place on April 6th. One of the first items there we wanted to talk about on the consent agenda was a resolution accepting a donation for a park bench. We have these from time to time.
You bet. We did one of these last year. I think we might have done one earlier this year, but community residents can come to us and donate if they'd like to get a park bench into a park. And in this case, the Two Kick family is donating $700 for a park bench, and this is going to go into Moore Park.
Okay.
And this is to celebrate the life of their grandfather, I understand. So, great way to have that recognition, and we appreciate those families stepping up.
Yeah, like you said, great way to memorialize their loved one, and if anyone's interested, I'm sure they can get a hold of the city and they'll let you know what the process is to go about getting a bench like that.
They sure can. Just contact our city administrator.
All right. Council recommended reappointments of the Charter Commission members. This is the one commission that's actually done by a judge. Right. I know you guys appoint the rest of the members to the other commissions. Yeah,
that's correct. This one's done a little bit different than the others, but three charter members where their terms were going to expire. All 3 of them has expressed an interest to remain on that commission. So the City Council affirmed those reappointments to the Charter Commission. The Charter Commission was put in place a long time ago. Up to 15 members can be on that commission. Currently there's 9. So if anyone's interested in that, again, just contact the city and let us know.
All right. So council is recommending to the chief judge basically the reappointment of Al Hofstad, Glenda Maxwell, and Norman Warner to be reappointed to another 4-year term, each of them.
That is correct.
So that's gone through basically effective March 2021, it says, with the term expiring March 2025. We also had a couple other appointments to other commissions.
We do. We've got various commissions across the city, and we always like to have interested residents stepping up and filling these roles. They're critical for the smooth running of our operations. In this case, we appointed a new member to our Safety Commission, Shalonda Gordon, who interestingly enough ran for Ward 1 council member. And she did mention to me that she wanted to stay involved in the city and do what she can. So she stepped up, and she's going to be a part of our Safety Commission. And then we also appointed Steve Ricken to the Board of Adjustments and Appeals. So both of those will be 2021 appointments.
All right, like you said, important. They do important work. We don't always see it, but they do a lot of the legwork and stuff for the council to make bigger decisions.
Absolutely. A city this size takes a lot of people involved to make sure it runs as smooth as it does. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes, and a lot of these residents and volunteers are really what's making it happen.
All right. Moving forward, council adopted an ordinance revising City Code Section 5-203. This relates to alcoholic beverages, and this relates to kind of who can sell alcohol, correct?
That's correct. This is updating an ordinance for liquor sales. It's what we call our Class B liquor licenses. And so over time, customer demand is evolving for things like this, and a lot of the new grocery stores and suppliers like that would like to come into our town would like to have a liquor component associated with it. So we're just kind of evolving to those demands, and what this ordinance does specifically is lowers the square feet of grocery that is necessary to get a Class B license from 50,000 square feet down to 25,000 square feet. You still have to be a primary grocery retailer, and there's a lot of nuance in these ordinances. So many square feet for fresh produce and so forth. But the big thing here is that it's a smaller footprint stores. So think of a store like Trader Joe's, which we don't have in this town, and I don't know if they would be coming to this town, but that's kind of the model that we're trying to accommodate with this ordinance change.
All right, so we're hoping this change could maybe attract some more businesses to town.
That's right. I think, the more that we have, the more competition, the more variety that we have does help all of our residents, and that's what we're trying to put in place here with some structure.
All right. Council considered site plan for use flexibility. This is for a second ground sign at 1560 Coon Rapids Boulevard. This is actually the Caribou Coffee Cabin that popped up there over the winter.
Right. Yeah, so Caribou came to us last year and looked at this spot and said, we'd like to do one of our little prototype coffee cabins. They have one, I think, in Big Lake or Elk River. But they would like to do one here on the corner of Egret and Coon Rapids Boulevard. So the site plan was put in place, and the original intent was to have the Caribou sign, their sign, integrated into the Park District sign that's right there on that corner for the dam park down there. And Anoka County decided they didn't want to integrate the two, public and private structure, and we don't blame them for that. But that really put in front of us a situation where we had to give them some type of variance. They had to have some type of signage so people knew that they were selling coffee there and what their hours were and such. So we're just going to have two signs on that property. Theirs is just going to be a little bit further down than the original. Just again, our code does allow for design flexibility and things like this, but we have pretty tight sign ordinances in Coon Rapids for a lot of good reasons, and this one did need a variance, and we approved that at that meeting.
Yeah, plus it's also part of a port district, so there's even more standards.
There's layers and layers
for
on
that.
this, you bet there is.
So when we talk about for a second sign, the first sign they're referring to is the County Regional Dam Park sign, right?
Which stays.
But then doesn't have anything with Caribou on it.
Right.
So this is really Caribou's only sign.
Right, and that sign is almost as big as the Caribou.
I know, that's from the one angle, it's, can't see Caribou. All right, so they're able to get their sign, and people have been checking that out too.
That's right. Again, just another nice sign of growth along Coon Rapids Boulevard and the revitalization that we've got going on there. And when I came to the City Council 4 years ago, it was one of our priorities. It's the council's priorities to revitalize that and do everything that we can. We're seeing it slowly but surely spring back to life, and a lot of good things are happening on the boulevard, including the coffee shop and the sign that needed a variance.
Yes. All right. That's all I have from that meeting that I wanted to talk about. Maybe before we go, we can also talk about, you guys have the Board of Appeals and Equalization, something like that, coming up here. It's the once-a-year meeting where people can come, and if they don't agree with their assessed value of their home, they can protest that. But basically, I know they ask that you kind of contact the city assessor's office to see if you can work that out prior to the meeting, correct?
That's correct. We talked about this a little bit at last night's council meeting, but the local Board of Adjustment and Appeals, that meeting is coming up. And so earlier this month, or maybe in March, you would have received your home's appraised valuation for 2022. Now that's important to state that that's your appraised value for 2022. However, if you are contesting or questioning your valuation, now's the time to come to the City Council and bring your concerns and appeals to that board to see if it can be adjusted. Because in the spring of next year, when you get your property tax statement, it's going to be too late. Those valuations are set now because we have to get those valuations into the county, and then the county records them all. So, in most cases, if people do have a question on their appraised value, they can contact our city assessor's office and just, make an appointment, we can talk about it, they can come out and they can meet you, and most of the time, 95% of the time, questions and concerns are resolved before going to the board. But that certainly is you're right, if you wanted to present that live in person at the Board of Equalization meeting.
Yeah. It's just that if they do it ahead of time, staff has more time, can prep council for that with that information. But this happens every year. We'll get people to come up because you get your statements in November, kind of with your preliminary property tax bill for the next year,
right.
And then they're like, "Well, this is too high. My value is too high." Well, that's already been set basically by this action in the spring. So, if you don't like your value, or you think it's maybe don't like it, but you think it's too high, too low, give the city assessor's office a call, and they can walk you through that and answer questions related to that. And then again, this Board of Appeals and Equalization is coming up on Tuesday, April 27th, and I believe it's 7 p.m. start.
It is 7 p.m.
In the council chambers. It'll also be on Zoom for folks that want to participate but can't make it here to City Hall.
That's correct. Well, with the housing market as hot as it's been, these values are going up. We're seeing across the state, across the country, really. So, yep, bring your concerns forward if you have them.
All right. Well, that's all I have, unless there's anything else you want to add.
I don't think I have anything else to add. I think we're doing pretty good. City's in pretty good shape. We did have a presentation by Ellers, who talked to us about our bond rating and our city's financial shape, and we're doing very good there from that outside perspective, so we're glad to see that as well.
All right, and so we're also getting some more federal aid coming in here in the next year or so, about $7 million from the federal government.
There is more aid coming from the federal through the Second Relief Act, and that strongly enough, a lot of that is being is increasing our some of our fund balances are higher than they have been in other years, so we're looking at that.
Yeah, and still figuring out where that money can be spent and how it can be spent with this second allotment here.
Yeah, they have relaxed some of the rules on where we can spend that, but there is still quite a bit of rules and how a city can spend those relief funds.
All right, well, more to come on that.
That's
we
right.
appreciate you being here today and talking to us. Thank you at home for watching, and we'll see you back here again after our 2 meetings in May.